So, hi everybody. Thanks for tuning into our conversation of this week. I'm Arushi. I'm the founder's office at RevRag and your host for today's episode at the Sales and Onboarding series. So, every week we talk about different areas in BFSI. Could be product, could be onboarding, and that too, especially in India, where the journeys are anything but simple. So, in our last episode, we spoke about collections and discovery and where AI fits in and where it doesn't. So, do check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. This time, we are talking about something very different, which we haven't spoken about, in our previous episodes. We're not just talking about AI or automation, but we are talking about the intelligence layer. How data about different users, businesses, behavior, and intent actually gets captured, processed, and turned into decisions across fintech, lending, and the whole spectrum of BFSI. Because before an AI agent nudges a customer or a loan gets sanctioned, data has already decided the journey. And for this episode, there's no better person to talk than Rajit Bhattacharya, who started a risk intelligence company right out of college. He's the co founder at Data Sutram and has also received Forbes 30 under 30. Thanks, Rajit, for joining us today. Glad to have you on board. And also
Thanks,
joining us
Arushi.
is Ashutosh. He's the co- yeah. And also joining us is Ashutosh. He's the co-founder and CEO at Revlag.ai, where he's building AI agents for BFSI. So thanks for joining us, Ashutosh, today.
Thanks, Arushi, for inviting, as always.
Awesome. So, we can start from the very basics. So, let's start, Rajit, let's start with you. Can you take us back to your college days? You started it right out of college. What were you seeing in the world of finance or risk that made you think, maybe we need a solution here, we need better intelligence?
Absolutely. I think so, Arushi. In fact, I don't come from a banking background. I have nothing. I had nothing to do with financial institutions. When we started the company, we never imagined we'll be working with financial institutions. When we started, we were data scientists, and we were inspired by data science, and we were inspired by building solutions that used data to solve business problems. The core problem
Mm-hmm.
statement or fundamental that we started with was with enterprises do not have enough information on their end customer. And this I observed when we were working, on multiple projects on with data science, with engineering teams. When we realized that today, when it comes to building decision making, right, enterprises today struggle with lack of information on the end customer, and that was the pain point. Now,
Mm-hmm.
over the years, what has happened is this pain point has surged in financial services. And that's where, the journey has, naturally progressed towards us building for financial services, where today, um, if not, I mean, almost 90, if not 100% of our business is from financial services. If I take a step back and I go into why this has happened, right? Post 2020 digital boom in India happened, for which what happened is millions of transactions, whether they are loans, bank accounts, insurances, they went digital. Now, because of which,
Yeah.
what happened is, and I quote a banker here, कि, चोर cloud में चला गया, but police ground पे रह गया. So that's actually where fundamentally the problem statement more evolved, where financial institutions actually struggled because they did not have enough information on the end customer. And on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
digital was making them tackle large volumes of inquiries without being, without having a physical touch. Because if you go back 10 years from now, people would actually rely on intuition, on conversation, on discussions to actually be able to understand the end customer and then take a call whether to give a financial product or not. But with time, with digital, that physical touch point went away. We were suddenly looking at large volumes of uh, transactions happening without a physical touch point. And hence, the next problem statement evolved where you actually needed intelligence on the end customer. And remember, at that time, we were also saying
Mhm.
enterprises need a lot of information on the end customer. And I think that's where the marriage happened, and we started building in financial services.
Right, right. So, Rajat, like you started in the area of intelligence. I mean, BFSI is a, banking financial space is where trust is a very big factor out of all the other industries. What did the early versions of Intel look like? Was it risky for BFSIs to trust a platform back then? How was your initial, traction? How did the clients see you? How were the early days in general?
I think so. In the good thing about financial institutions, right, is that it's a closed group, right? And at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it's a very the relationship, the trust, all of that is very important, right? So when we started, we relied on borrowed trust, right? We uh, had a few initial wins. We had a few supporters who were from the financial segment, who had been advising us, invested in us, right? So we went in with borrowed trust, right? And we stuck around. I mean, it took us a pretty long time till we landed our end customer, right? So of course, sticking around, being there, talking about innovation helps in terms of getting that trust. But the most important piece is tailwinds in this industry. So, what we were actually able to capture is the tailwind of fraud because suddenly the
Mm-hmm.
financial institutions had a real pain point. The pain point was that with huge digital boom coming in, fraud escalated, and hence they needed a solution, and we were able to build them that solution. So I think the most critical piece is to have a tailwind if you have to enter this segment, is to ride a tailwind. And these tailwinds happen from time to time, right? When they really need solutions. And at that point, I think bank BFSI is a very, I would say, is a segment that's very open to innovation, very open to new solutions, new thinking, especially when these pain points come in. And I think we were just lucky at the right time and the right place, and we were able to make a breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if I'm not wrong, this you started the company somewhere around COVID or before that. That is when, we saw a huge transformation. Everything was, at least most part was physical, and then everything turned digital. I'm sure there were a lot of people were figuring out what to do, what new solutions to bring. And, data was definitely one of the main points because that's where the whole journey starts. So thanks for explaining that, Rajat. I want to understand one thing. We always talk about data like it's in a lot of quantity, but in reality there are a lot of gaps, a lot of blind spots. What are some of the blind spots that you've seen? How these BFSI players evaluate customers, and what kind of data is it that you've seen over the years that usually changes the game?
So I think, Arushi, I think the way we look at this, right, is data is a commodity, right? And for
Hmm.
any
Yeah.
commodity, right, the idea is what is the value proposition of a commodity? So I think there's a classical journey we say in analytics, right? Data to information, information to knowledge, and knowledge to wisdom. So any commodity has that journey, right? So I feel what's interesting and what's critical is how we draw inferences from this data, right? Because like commodity data is there out there with everyone, right? But
Yeah.
inference, who's able to leverage the best inference is where the value proposition or the real demand is, right? So for example, right, if you take a very simple example, and if you take the traditional credit bureau industry, right? Uh, Credit bureau industry is almost a 2,500 crore market. but there is one player dominating 80% of that market, because one player's credit score has actually earned a lot of accreditation in the market, right? Because people trust that inference, right? So if you look at it, there's
Yeah.
always value for inferences, there's value for decisioning, right? There's value for intelligence more than data. So I feel that I don't get too excited on what type of data there is, because I think what's critical is that your inferences are able to hold value. For example, if I take our business, right, we are in the fraud detection business, right? That's a large part of our business. We help in collection recovery. At the end of our when our end customer does a review of our performance, what matters is how much fraud were we able to capture, how much recovery lift were we able to provide to the end customer, or how much sales increase did we
Mhm.
do. I mean, what data do we really have has nothing to do with it, right? So I feel what is the business impact and what is the inference is actually what is the game changer. And I believe that it will always be that game changer. So I would never be too excited with what data it is there, but rather always will emphasize on inferences, intelligence, and impact.
No, makes absolute sense. It's, the outcome that is valued rather than, what all has gone into it. This is quite similar to, again, the last episode that we had where we spoke about, data in collections and how it comes into use. And then we also spoke about how, if you have basically AI agents, if they're deployed at the starting of, let's say the onboarding journey, and then they continue their way up till the end, up till collections, they have a lot of data, which comes into use and which can help make a lot of decisions. But we'll definitely get to that in the later questions. You know, you are working in onboarding, you know, embedding AI agents in the digital onboarding process. Do you think missing trust data is often, one of the hidden reasons for which people abandon their journeys?
Right. I think from the so there are two outlook to it, right? From what Rajit is trying to do is Rajit is trying to help the bankers, the fintech and insurtech companies to basically believe on whether this user is actually in need of the funds or is an actual customer. It's
Mhm.
not a fraud customer, right? For an institution, actually it becomes important to have that kind of a data uh, on a customer so that they are able to basically either disburse the loan, give the insurance, give the claim even, right? Because insurance is what, but whether the claim is right or not, that is also important, right? And then uh, other parts of products as well. There are mule accounts that are being created in savings, right? I think a large part of banks like payments bank actually face this issue, right? So I think what Rajit's thought process is that uh, data actually helps in bringing that trust. I definitely agree there. But from the user's perspective, I think they don't really care about data, right? What they care about is that
Mhm.
uh, whether my uh, on whatever app I'm going, whatever offering that I'm using, I should be able to like get the value that is there. That's it, nothing more, right? And they
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
want to get into much details. uh, they if they have questions, they really ask those questions. Otherwise they majorly drop off because of those questions not getting answered. But uh, the the trust is developed majorly because of the institution that is there. So I will
Mhm.
basically be I can use SBI. Like I will any day go with SBI over any other bank, right? Because SBI has that kind of a trust. So for user, trust lies in the institution, right? But for institutions, they have to search for trust with data for a particular user, right? And that is where I think
Yeah.
Rajit is helping these institutions to basically build that kind of a trust. And about the AI agents, I think see, AI agents are majorly layer of agentic layer of sort, right? If they don't have the right
Mm-hmm.
data, then probably they will not be able to make the right decision as well, right? Garbage in,
Yeah.
garbage out will be the outcome kind of a sense, right? So any day, an agent will definitely need right data set to basically become more like effective in whatever outcome or objective that AI agent is actually trying to drive.
Mm-hmm. No, makes absolute sense. Um, when we are talking about again the data, the intel that all of these different banks use to come to inferences, I would want to understand how this works in different kinds of cities, because India is very diverse. There are a lot of places where you won't find bureau data, especially in informal markets. There must be different categories of people that you work with, Rajat, from tier 1 to 3 cities. So how does that come into play when you talk about a lot of data?
So actually, Arushi, I think I'll try to give it a different lens out here, right? If you see traditionally, what we have always done is we have done product-based underwriting. I'll explain to you
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. So if you look at any lender today, they use credit bureau data to be able to underwrite a customer, right? So
Yeah.
effectively, if they're looking at Rajit or Ashutosh, what they're looking at is how has Rajit and Ashutosh's behavior been on credit card, or behavior been on payment across personal loan, right? Or has behavior been on housing loan, right? And then they are trying to do an inference to say that, okay, tomorrow if I sell a personal loan or a housing loan, how are they going to behave, right? So
Mm.
India has traditionally always done product based underwriting. I think with time, what is changing with lenders' mindsets is that they want to move from product based underwriting to profile based underwriting, which means that I want to understand whether this person is an HNI, is an ultra rich, is a middle class salaried fellow, is a middle class self-employed fellow, is a maybe a Bharat rural segment self-employed. Is it a gig worker? Are they maybe a farmer? Right, so India's 130 crore population can actually be broken down into many customer segments, and each of these segments have very different behavior when it comes to their
Mm-hmm.
socio-economic behavior, their payment behavior, their spend behavior, their social behavior, and so on. And it could be that today, when I'm selling a housing loan or I'm selling a credit card, I'm actually selling to all the categories and not just one category, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
means that I need to complement my product based underwriting with my profile based underwriting. So when I am selling a credit card, now I just don't need your payment profile on credit cards, but I also need to understand your profile in terms of, are you a middle class salaried person, and what is your socio-economic status, vis-a-vis, are you a middle class self-employed person, or are you an ultra HNI, and how is your social behavior and your payment behavior, right? So what's very important to bring in is the customer segment and the behavior of the customer segment, and that actually coupled with the product underwriting is the true profile underwriting. And today, if you look at NBFCs in the market, right, they're, at the end of the day, what is distinguishing NBFC A from
Mm-hmm.
NBFC B, right? It's the, at the end of the day, what's distinguishing them is how well they are orchestrating the capital flow, right? So
Yeah.
so how well do they understand the end customer, right? And hence it has become very important for lenders today to understand profile and do profile based underwriting than do product based underwriting, because more often than not, all of these profiles need all the products, right? And these products behavior of payment might
Right. Right.
actually need to complement with the profile underwriting. So I wouldn't look at whether it's what kind of data you need for Bharat, but rather I would look at saying that look at India as 10 types of customer segments and try and understand each type of customer segment more in depth so that you are able to solve for the customer better. I think that's the way I would look at it.
It's really interesting how you put across, uh, yeah,
I have
Ashutosh,
one
please go
thing.
on.
Yeah. I have one thing, and I had a question with for Rajit actually. I am really curious, Rajit, because there are two types of NBFCs, right? And you must be knowing better than me here. That see, there are NBFCs which are like uh, much bigger, have multiple businesses, kind of similar to a Mahindra group, right? Kind of similar to a Tata group. They have a leverage of data from uh, other businesses as well. They might be having a profile on a customer with from different angle. So have you seen like a small NBFC running only a single business, which is just a lending business, versus a large NBFC having multiple businesses? Do they actually use that data, or is it like just sitting there not being used? How do they profile their customers?
So I think that's a very interesting point, right? And I think I will put it slightly different, right? Today, everyone is trying to be a fintech. Everyone is trying to be a lender, right? So what's happening is whether you are selling cars, you try to sell on top of it, you try to sell a car loan, right? If you are doing e-commerce, you try to put in a personal loan unsecured on top of it, right? If you are doing travel planning, you sell an unsecured personal loan there, right? So what is the difference today between, I mean, no one is just trying to do lending today, right? And even I don't want to take the name, but there is a lender who's without a customer facing front today, they have actually built a very big book, right? And they have gone and partnered with so many part companies, whether it's consumer durables, whether it's their partner. So I think lenders have today discovered a partner led model, and this partner could be for a conglomerate. That partner could be a business that is inside. For a single NBFC, partner could be a different business only, right? But what every lender is understanding and realizing is that I just cannot do lending without adding on top of a transaction that's happening, right? And that transaction could be shopping, could be travel, could be anything. So if I am a conglomerate, right, like you said, so I will, if I'm a lending arm of a conglomerate, I will try to hop on to the businesses of the conglomerate and try to expedite my lending first, right? Vis-a-vis, if I am a lender, then I will try to partner with other independent businesses and try to look at it. But both are doing the same thing, which is they are going and building partnerships with businesses which are not lending and trying to becoming a lending arm. So effectively, the difference between whether you're a marketplace or you're a if you're an NBFC is no longer there. Every entity has their own NBFC. They're playing a marketplace model. They're doing FLDG, they're also doing a DSA. So I think what we are seeing gradually evolve is a hybrid structure, right? And that means that uh, now whether you're a marketplace or whether you are doing lending, of course, the risk appetite difference, because of FLDG, you have more risk if you're an NBFC yourself vis-a-vis just the DSA, right? But what's important is the end customer through and through. So I feel that the requirement of data persists across. Of course, now the higher degree of risk is on your book, the more intelligence you need, right? The more information you know about that customer from your partner network, the less information you need from external sources, right? So that's the way this is evolving. But of course, I think today everyone to some extent has limited information still, because even if you are going by a partner model, you can only know what your partner's transactions are, right? Of course, it's more than what you know before, right? But you know only a bit, right? So you still need additional uh, information and additional aspects. I also think what's emerging and what we feel is going to be the next thing is we need to look at underwriting models that are using both in-house and internal data. Right? Every NBFC is gonna own their underwriting models, right? But the infrastructure that combines all of it and enables someone to build to technology on top of it is probably another massive opportunity that's waiting out there. I think there's a limitation today in terms of BREs which can actually enable the financial institution to add many types of information points and build great models. And most agencies are building it in-house themselves today because of a lack of a player.
No, thank you. Thanks, Rajit, for answering that. I think a great thought process there.
All right. Thanks, Rajit, for that, very in-depth answer. I'm sure, people would have a lot of queries around that area as well. And the way you just, give a proper distinction of profile-based underwriting and product-based underwriting, that is also very important for understanding. Um, Now, there's one thing that I want to ask from the both of you. This is the section where AI meets data. So here's what I like to, I'd love to get both of your takes. Rajit, your platform can detect intent and risk signals, and Ashutosh, your agents step in at the moment of friction. What would it look like if you, let's say, trigger a voice nudge? How would the synergy work? Maybe we can start with Rajit.
I'll let Rajit answer this. Rajit actually has imagined this
Yeah,
already.
So I think
we'd like to, yeah, know your thoughts on this.
yeah, no, I'll take a first shot on this, and I think Ashutosh have please feel free to add. See, I feel I think the thought process is very simple, right? I think what AI is kind of being able to, and I think I've learned a lot from Ashutosh also on this, right? What AI is today actually helping and solving for is human cognitive behavior, or being able to complement and adjust where human behavior, human usage is happening, right? I think for us, one aspect, one opportunity of collaboration where we immediately see value is that uh, humans can consume a number of intelligence. Probably AI agents can consume 10x number of intelligence, right? So we are potentially looking at higher intelligence usage with the advent of AI agents coming in, right? Which means that, or rather,
Mm-hmm.
humans will be able to consume more intelligence with the support of AI agents, right? I think that's the first area of big opportunity that we see, for which we are very excited and interested to learn and be a part of this growth story, because we feel that the advent of AI agents will only increase and increase the usage of intelligence, right? The second aspect, which I also feel is very critical, is that today there's a reverse feedback loop that's missing in terms of the intelligence evolving over time to understand more and more about the data. Because remember, today the intelligence is just sitting and just saying that, okay, this is what I know about the customer from 10 places. The agent is actually able to add to that intelligence to saying that while I was interacting with the customer, this is what I additionally learned, right? And that comes as a feed to the intelligence. So I feel the combination of intelligence and AI agents can actually make it a very sticky proposition and a more superior proposition for financial institutions, and it's a win-win for both. Because at the end of the day, agents need more intelligence to drive better behavior, and agents can drive better usage of intelligence. And in both the cases, there is higher usage, and for the end customer, which is financial institutions, uh, they are benefiting from serving customers better. So I think we are looking at a very uh, positive future where we see there's going to be potentially a big breakthrough happening, where the engagement layer from the bank and the end customer is going to see an evolution with AI coming in. Now the question is how much will happen over the next 1 year vis-a-vis the next 5 years. It will happen. Now whether it happens in a year or 5 years is potentially the question that I'm going to leave it to Ashutosh to think about, but it's certainly going to happen.
No, I too agree. I think when I met Rajat, we actually discussed on the same topic. So, and gathered our thoughts around this piece. So I too second on Rajat's piece that there is information out there for sure, and uh, but when agents are also interacting, there is a second layer of intelligence that is being built, right? But there is one more important piece that I want to highlight there is that not everybody will be able to use those conversations as intelligence, right? So there will be right people or right like instrument that is needed to basically churn out that intelligence to give it to their customers, right? So I think combining the outer word information, the inner word, the engagement layer intelligence, uh, combining it together, it brings out a massive unlock for institutions, because now you can actually uh, checkbox whether it was right or wrong, right? Whether it was good or bad, right? So you can basically uh, checkbox it and then underwrite, and this is a massive unlock, right? About the engagement layer, I do believe that there is going to be again uh, a massive unlock that is going to happen through AI, right? And not just calling, it will be on other layers of engagement as well, even in terms of like UI changes that will start to happening, right? Because there will be a right balance of UI and conversation that is going to come up, because every app today is going to become tomorrow's agent, right? So there will be a massive changes in the UI segmentation as well, apps as well, because we don't know how the future will look like, but we can just anticipate that okay, today's app will become tomorrow's agent, right? So there will be less clicks, there will be less taps, but a lot more conversations, right? A lot more intelligence on top of it, right? So I think, yeah, I totally agree on Rajat's point. And just the people who will be able to like tap into those intelligence and the engagement layer will be the one making money.
No, yeah, that's absolutely valid. And just to summarize what both of you said, it's a combination of both AI agents and data. It can be very efficiently with the businesses out there. Um, Again, it's when there's a lot of data and you have AI agents, a lot of data can be consumed at once, which can lead to better inferences. And that is what matters in the end, how you infer data and what you make out of it. So thanks for your, both of your takes on this topic where, AI meets data, uh, which is called explainability. Rajat, I have a question for you. So,
Are you able to
you've
hear
built in
Arushi,
this
Rajat?
compliance heavy.
Arushi, I think I'll need you to repeat that. I think we lost you in the middle.
Yeah, Arushi,
The
Sure,
you're
question.
absolutely.
breaking
Can you hear
actually.
me now?
Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
So, just let me know if wherever there's a crack in my voice. So what I was asking was that, you are building in a very compliance heavy industry, designing a explainable AI system, especially where so much of data is being used in the business.
I think that's a very very important point, right? And I think when we were building, across the last 4 5 years, I feel uh, regulation is what makes moat in this industry, right? Compliance is what makes moat in this industry. So I feel the players who will be able to define that is going to be the ones who will stick around. So I believe it's an advantage. It's also the biggest hurdle. I don't have the right answer because I think it's an exploratory angle. There's DPDPB coming in. There's the entire layer of explainable AI. Today, most banks have explainable AI teams who have big regulatory frameworks around how they want to do it. Um, RBI constantly needs transparency in terms of most of the models. The regulator plays a very active role today in India, especially in ensuring that transparency is there in AI model, which is great, right? So I feel all of this is positive, and I feel all of this gives the opportunity to also build a very big moat in this business. So I think again, it's an absolute area of opportunity and concern of both at the same time. It's a make or break on this.
Great. Ashutosh, the same question extended to you as well. For you, I'll just add one more question. In digital onboarding journeys, there's progressive digital onboarding being here. These AI agents along this queue. So can you talk about how over and above,
Arushya, I'm unable to hear you. Like, your voice is cracking. But I'll take the first question, then probably you can fix your internet by that time. Uh, I too agree on Rajat's point that see everywhere, wherever we have seen BFSI, fintech, insurtech, right? In whatever country we have, uh, I think compliance is very important, and it is the key thing if you are basically working in financial sector, right? Uh, whether it's US, whether it's Europe, whether it's India, China, whatever, right? So, working with BFSI industry always requires you to have compliance ready product, uh, data, security, and now explainable AI governance, a lot more other things as well, right? Responsible AI. There are multiple things that are coming into picture, and for people like me and Rajat who are building in AI and data fields, right? We have to be at it, because if we are not able to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rajat, if we are not able to basically provide trust to people whom we are working with, right? I don't think so. Bigger banks will be working with people like us, right? For any startup out there who is building AI, building a data company, or any company which is in BFSI, uh, as Rajat said, I think this is the best mode that you can get if you get got an entry with solving all of these puzzles or hurdles, right? Probably you are going to stay there for a very long time, right? So everybody knows this, I think, but uh, you have to pay a lot more attention now, because AI is 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 a puzzle type of a thing for everyone, where people are not able to understand properly. So you have to make it more explainable and easy to grasp, easy to understand, and then basically go about doing it. I think we've lost Arushi here, right? So I'll just I'll just ask my personal question to you. I had one question, Rajat. So I was pretty interested in understanding that. So there are a lot of mule accounts that happens, uh, Rajat, today, right? So is there something that probably AI can now help in basically getting rid of those mule accounts, and even like how Data Sutram is actually using AI overall, right? To basically help in the the fraud detection and other areas. Would love to know like how you are using AI. Rajit, I think you're on mute or something. Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry. So
yeah.
Ashutosh, maybe I will just cover a bit about how AI can play a role. I do
Yeah.
believe that whereas our AI piece is more on the modeling side and looking at pattern of
Hmm.
fraud, but
Right.
I think if I look at it from an agentic standpoint, right,
Hmm.
workflow standpoint, right, I'll just take a step back and maybe cover from the both industry standpoint, right. So
Mm-hmm.
if you see what has happened because of huge number of volumes of fraud that has gone up actually,
Right.
the problem statement that today is there for all of us to think about and solve is how, again, I'll go back to the very basic fundamental of how well can we understand the customer the best, right? Because what's happening is that, with a lot of these digital arrests and
Mm-hmm.
frauds and scams happening, the fraudster today is very smart. If we think the fraudster is, someone who we can catch like this, we are very wrong. The fraudster is the 20-year-old with a SIM card and an internet access who's sitting there and who knows how to game the system, right? And just like here we are talking about AI, the fraudster is also talking about AI, right? And how you can use how you can potentially use AI agents tomorrow maybe to do fraud,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, so I think the best part about a topic like fraud, right, is that the innovation is on both the sides. The point
Right.
is who does the innovation faster, right, and who's constantly aware of. I remember, again in my interaction with bankers, I remember they said that earlier bank mein kya hota tha, they had this logic that you know. Uh, put down if you put down that there is a you have a two-wheeler in a firm, right? When
Mm.
while opening an account, they would not do certain checks. Now, the moment what happened, the a particular area they cracked it. So what they
Mm.
did is they got all the mule accounts created by tick marking that I have a two-wheeler, right? And then
Oh.
all those accounts started because no background check happened. So
Mm.
the beauty about fraud detection is that
Mm.
if you have a definite way of detecting fraud, be rest assured the fraudster is going to be outliving you, right?
Mm.
So the
Mm.
constant thought process is that how do you stay ahead of the game, right?
Right.
And I think that is where I think technology can play a massive game changer here, because I think
Mm.
it's about looking at millions of information pointers and understanding what, because you need an outlier here. So, people often ask me this, that, what is your 80% reliance on data source? I actually say it's flip, right? It's always that outlier that tells me this is a fraud, right? So if I say these are the things that tell me what is a fraud, then I'm doing something wrong, because the fraudster also knows those are the things that tell me what is fraud, right? So it's constantly about innovating outliers, right? And I think that's where AI can really play a big game. And I think that's where agents have to be trained and built in a way where they can investigate, they can check, and they can
Mm.
detect fraud, right? And that's where I think there's a massive area of innovation, because you can understand that there's no one answer to this. It's not like if you train a model on some what is the existing pattern of fraud, they will be detecting the next one, because the next one is going to be completely
Absolutely.
different, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So I think that is where the real challenge is. Because see, right now there's a lot of innovation is happening in how do I augment human workforce in taking care of more and more. There's innovation in case management. There's innovation in field investigation happening. I'm seeing companies here and there building technologies. But the real game is actually in maybe tomorrow, can there be an AI agent that Revra creates, right, which can talk to a customer and know it's a potential fraud, right? I think that is what will be the game changer at the end of the day.
I think I will use Data Sutram, feed that transcript to you, and then Data Sutram will be able to tell us that, right? So I think, yeah, but yeah, I absolutely agree that one part for sure that uh, like frauds are not in the patterns majorly, right? This is the outliers that make sense, and basically this is how you basically catch frauds. And I loved the investigation piece. There will be like AI agents for sure coming in that investigate particular case, and like multiple case for that matter, right? And take, okay, this is something that probably is a case which is coming out to be a fraud, right? Agreed. I think over to you, Arushi. I hijacked for a while, but yeah, over to you.
No, I actually, there was a huge internet issue, but I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, we
yes,
can.
absolute clear.
Okay. Thanks for taking in Ashutosh. Rajit, now that you were speaking about massive opportunities, around data, there's one point that I want to ask, which is kind of related to onboarding. So, with AI agents, we talk about not just the digital onboarding, but what lies beyond that, because the capabilities of AI agents are immense. So, if we talk about, beyond onboarding, let's talk about client retention, cross-selling, or even collections. What areas here do you think are, great for intelligence-driven workflows?
I think, see, look at it from a perspective of saying that if a financial institution today is dealing with an end customer, how do they look at customers? Let's try to understand how financial institution looks at end customer. Uh, if it's a per individual, right? The important time periods are when you are graduating from college, then it's when you are getting your first job, then when you are getting potentially married, then when you are having kids, then when you are probably in your kids need to go to education, and then you need to finally retire, right? So if you look at this journey, at each point in time, and if you take it a business the same way, right? When it starts, then it goes into its first stages of 20 lakh turnover process as is GST registration. Then it's going ahead, and you're saying, okay, now it's raising funds, right? And then it gets listed, right? So if you look at an individual or a business, they have a journey, they have a trajectory, they have a career. So and if you look at that different stages of the career, the financial institution, for them, it's the most important point is to hit the person at their different time intervals, because that's when they need a credit card, that's when they need a personal loan, they need an education loan, they need a housing loan, and so on, right? So for any financial institution, right, the life stage of the end customer and the behavior of the end customer, right? Today I got a bonus from my job, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy an iPhone, right? Maybe I'll opportunity to sell me a buy now pay later, right? I got two promotions in a job, and now I'm going on a flight to Europe, right? Great time to sell me an unsecured personal loan, right? So if you look at any financial institution, their ability to understand, keep understanding the customer and getting triggers at various time intervals is very critical to how well they can leverage the end customer. And look at it from the end customer side. For them, it's very important that the end customer also, the financial institution knows them and can give them the right things at the right time. Most people don't know that today. I mean, today, unfortunately, most people don't know how to go and get a credit card, how to go and apply for a forex card, how to, because it's a very, it's not that easy. It's very difficult. It's a very cumbersome process, you know, and uh, so if you look at the journey, right, and maybe 10, 15 years from now, we will be in a very different world where you will potentially no need to call up the bank anymore. The bank always knows what you're doing and can tell you what you need at every point in time without getting on your nerves, right? I have banking in this particular bank where uh, every Friday of the month, some guy calls me and says, "I am your RM," right? You don't want those annoying things happening in, right? So you want your banker to know your life, right? And there's a different
Yeah.
person calling every Friday, right? So, uh, so it's about understanding the customer, empathizing with the customer, and being able to pitch the right product to the customer at that time interval. So intelligence is about triggers. How do you get the right moment to reach out to the customer? And then I think where the next innovation is going to come is the engagement layer, right? Where how
Yeah.
do I have a dedicated banking agent who has no risk of customer churn happening, right? So, because the reality that we don't talk about today is banks have 30 to 40% churn in their feet on street, in their field. And this is not one bank, all banks in India, most banks in India, right, have 30 to 40% churn in their field force today, right? That means that every out of every 100 people, 30 people leave, right? That means that, imagine how can you know your end customer then, right? So the problem statement for the head of retail banker today is that how do I create personalized banking? And for that, I need to have agentic workflows who understand my customer. And I need to have intelligence that gives me triggers on that end customer. And that's throughout the journey, just not an onboarding. Right. So that's the way I look at cross-sell, upsell, and the entire journey.
It's like all about the right timing, the right empathy, just it's about the timing and how you utilize that, because of course there's data, there's agentic workflows, it's how you use them to the best ability. I think we've almost come to the end of our session, and we spoke a lot about different areas, synergies of agents and data, how the case is, how the behavior of users is in different tiers of India, and a lot more. Thanks a lot, Rajit, for taking out time and coming here to speak with us and explain different areas of data. Yeah, and
Thank you.
thanks,
Pleasure is
Ashutosh.
mine as well.
Thanks, Ashutosh, for coming in and joining in to talk about AI and the onboarding processes and where all how data fits in. So thanks a lot to you too.
Thank you so much. I think thanks, Rajit. This was very interesting for me, and I really, I think you're on point on a lot of things. The last part that you said about one, so like it was just, I was just imagining how it is actually, right? Every Friday or every like month, there is a new RM actually reaching out to you saying, "Sir, I am a new RM. You let me know if you have anything," right? I think this is a very bad experience, man. And just imagine
Mhm.
there is an AI, so it is kind of, if you have seen a movie Her, right? uh, there is an AI agent which matlab, it's an AI basically. Dude, if you haven't watched, definitely it's a perfect time to watch
Must
that
watch.
movie. Right. And you'll feel that, let's imagine there is a like HDFC agent which actually has helped me from my college days to now my retirement, right? Just imagine the context that agent has, right? The memory that
Absolutely.
agent has. I think the level of the level of personalization and empathy, and the level of relationship that I will be having with that agent will be massive. I think we
And
are
and and if you see that, if you look at actually our parents' generation, right? It used to
right.
be like that. They used to have
Yeah,
one branch manager throughout their life, right?
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
Yes,
that
yes,
branch
yes,
manager used to know them, right? I mean,
yes,
I
yes.
and I'm sure you still have that one LIC agent who comes to you for all LICs,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
That's
yes,
what service
absolutely.
is, and we are going
Yes.
back there, just not with humans.
Yeah. No, no,
That's a
absolutely. I
great
think you're
comparison.
on point, on point. I think I'll use this in my pitch now. Right.
Perfect.
So it
Okay.
was
Thank
great
you.
having you,
Thank
Rajat.
you.
Thanks a lot for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you everybody for watching the
Thank you,
episode.
everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.